Okay, so I'm making this video because this is very important. If you are if you are a targeted individual, or if you're just starting to go through this, and I came to this realization here, looking back, self-reflecting. Not just self-reflecting, just reflecting on things that have happened in the past. And I just want to thank Seven Tunamon, because I just watched your latest video, and I realized that is part of the reason why I've been effective at all in my situation, is because of critical thinking, and because I got a jump on what was going on, and I have been able to look back at certain things before before it was effective against me, and have been able to recognize certain things for what they are. That being the case, I had a video that this is a video
entire time since I got it
that I put up 2 weeks ago, and it had to do with my son and my local perps, right? So there's a certain person in the TI community that clearly he's a perp. I mean, he pretends like he doesn't understand TIs and everything, but in reality, he's a troll. He's a professional troll, and trying to understand what his motives are, what he's even trying to do. What is he doing? And people think, oh, he's just messing with TIs. He's just messing with TIs. Well, yeah, that's what he's doing. But for what? Why? What is the end game here? What is the goal of the fucking turd monkey? Of the NIRVGORILLA. What's the goal of NIRVGORILLA? And when he starts relating to me, when he starts communicating with me or doing something, and it's not making fun of me, or it's not being a fucking retard, then then I open my eyes, and I start to look deeper into it. Like, what's he doing now? Because it makes even less sense now. So this is something I just thought back to, and this is very important. This might be a make or break a TI kind of idea, okay, that you need to recognize. If you don't recognize it, you might be in another headline in a news story. So I made this video, and this is just, I'm asking the right questions, but at the same time, that's not the main thing about my point here. So let's watch here, and then I'll come back.
to the store.
Here. We're gonna get to the point here.
I got instead I have we're investigate. No did anything. So
It's near the end.
said the state who I was talking to about this, the patent Travis Schilling, who I knew Schilling at the patent police day. Nobody knocked on my door.
Yeah, here.
Nobody knocked on the door. But yet there was a note and a card, a note from Travis Schilling himself, and a card saying he wants to talk to me and my son about a couple incidences that he's investigating. Well, do your investigation. I don't have to help you with your fucking investigation, motherfucker. You've never helped me in the past, and you sure as hell ain't helping me now. If you need to talk to me, come knock on my fucking door. Period. I'm not playing your games. That's all it is games. The fucking games they play. So, but I have very good questions that I can't seem to get answers to. It's strange how that happens. I ask these very, very simple questions, and I cannot get an answer to them. So then I ask again, and I ask louder. I ask the same question, only louder. And then I still can't get an answer to this very simple questions. That to me is a huge red flag. And it tells me everything I need to know right there. And if anybody else who's wondering about anything, just ask the right questions. That's all you got to do. That'll tell you everything you need to know. So, we'll see what happens.
So,
Peace.
It was just briefly there, right? Just briefly, very briefly. But when you go into the comments, okay, and let's look here. Okay, this is NIRVGORILLA's comment now. So he started commenting, and then as he gets into the video, then he even notes the time here, right? At 5 minutes and 50 seconds into the video, finally, he says finally, like he's been waiting for this, okay? I see some emotion from you. I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. And he points this out, okay? So what's the narrative he's trying to paint? He's trying to paint T.I.'s as dangerous, right? And he's relating to me as in, finally, I see some emotion from you. Like he's trying to promote it, like I should do more of this, you know? I should show more emotion. And, you know, and I'm mad I'm not going to take it anymore. Like that relates to me. And that's something where I would, I would resonate with that, and I would then think that's a good thing, and I should do that more. But that's not the case. Don't take the bait. Use critical thinking. Do not act on your emotions. You don't make good decisions whenever your emotions are running high. That's whenever they're able to play on those emotions and get you to make bad judgment decisions. You know, just think about it. Anytime you're mad, you're really mad or anything like that, you have to cool down, right? Cool heads have to prevail, right? Cooler heads will prevail. Because when you look back at a situation and you reflect on it, you're 9 times out of 10, you're going to make a different decision, you know, whenever emotions have to do with it. And when you can calmly think about the situation and use critical thinking, you're able to think more clearly about what you need to do. And I said about this in another video, whenever I had a certain police officer who hung up on me. He said, "You never get your fucking gun back," and hung up on me. And I was upset. So I made a video. I put it out there, and I asked for advice because I knew this. I've known this for a long time. I said, because I'm a little bit aggravated right now, and I can't think straight. I'm not able to see clearly what I need to do next. And I've been able to, you know, I've recognized this for a long time, you know, with 10 years being married to a certain person for 10 years. And it just seems like, whenever we would have an argument or a fight, it seemed like I was the only one that was trying to resolve it. The other person would it just seemed like that. I'm not saying that was her intentions, but it really seemed like she didn't want to resolve it. At the time, you know, I just needed to separate, because after she would, calm down too, after she would look at a situation, she wouldn't understand why she was mad either. You know, and that's why I don't think it was her intentions. But whenever emotions are high in a relationship, and one person is just fighting like hell to fix it, but the other person is just getting madder and madder, just don't try to fix it right then. You give yourself a little time, separate a little bit, and chances are, when both parties have time to think by themselves, to think on it by themselves, when their emotions are calmed down, they don't say anything that they can't take back. You know what I mean? They don't They don't say anything stupid. They don't say anything that they would regret. Because you don't have to take back something you don't say. So that's why it's important that TIs understand this, because they're right now, at the time we're living in, when you have all of these mass shootings and you have these incidences where there's a domestic dispute, or there's a situation involving a gun or firearm, and something bad happens, and then what happens every time? The news picks it up. The news takes it and runs with it, and then it becomes a political tool. Is exactly what it does. It becomes a political tool for people that don't give two shits about whether you live or die, that they're going to use you in your situation. Then they're going to use you in your situation to benefit their agenda. And they don't care what you thought to begin with. They don't care. You could have been a fucking far left, Democrat, and do something where the Republicans would benefit from exploiting your situation. Well, they're going to do it. They're going to paint you as like a hero, when in reality you were, they represent everything you were against, or vice versa. So just recognize that certain people don't give a shit about your situation. They don't give two fucks about your situation. They have their own agenda, and they will use any situation they can. They're opportunists. They will use any situation they can to further advance their agenda, because you don't realize how valuable one situation can be to influence other people. If it's just highlighted, all you have to do is highlight situations, right? So now in Nerd Gorilla, he's happy because finally, he's been waiting for this. Finally, he sees some emotion from me. I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. Is what he's trying to say that my mindset is, and that's not the case. That's not the case at all. I had a brief moment of frustration, is what that is, and I'm voicing it, my frustration. But you can clearly see in the video, within seconds, I'm calm and cool, and already thinking more clearly than I was just there. No, the only reason I got louder there is because it's effective to make people listen. It's just like raising kids. If you don't always raise your voice, then you're able to use your volume, to be effective in getting your message across to your kids. If you yell all the time, they'll never listen to you. Never. Because you yell all the time. That's it. They're never going to listen. That's all they hear is yelling, yelling, yelling. They don't hear what you're saying. But if you're able to stay cool and you talk to your kids and you reserve those moments when you elevate your voice, your volume, when you only raise your voice when it's very, very necessary, then there's a better chance that your kids are going to listen to those times. They're going to recognize those times as, wait, okay. And their critical thinking is going to kick in, and they're going to think, okay, well, whatever this is, it's different than normal. Whatever this is, I really did something here. I need to remember, because he never raises his voice. And whether they know that they're thinking it or not, they're thinking it. Their brains are recording this moment. Their brains are able to remember that. And that's why it's so important, you don't yell and scream at your kids either. It won't do anything. It's only going to help. It's only going to hurt you. It's going to make things harder for you. You talk to your kids and you let them know how you feel about certain things. But you can't get that. You can't raise your voice every time they do something wrong. You got to talk to them, and you got to understand why they're doing it. You got to understand their thinking, because they don't even know why they did it. They really don't. Truth is, they're always going to do as much as they can to push the limit. That's what kids do. That's human nature. Human natures will push the boundaries to the limit until they see, until they get to that limit, because they're kids. They don't think in terms of, in terms of, they think they'll always get another chance. They're always going to get another chance, so they can push the limit. They can push the limit. They're kids. They don't think that far ahead as far as consequences go. They don't, because they've always been protected. They've always had somebody to watch out for them. They've always had another opportunity to go back and do it over again. That's because they're developing. Their minds are developing right now. And while their minds are developing, they're pushing their limits to see how far they can go. They're going to do that. That's what they do. That's what they do. That's how they learn, where the limits are, the boundaries. It's like any animal. That's how your dog will learn how far they can go. They're going to push the limit until they realize, okay, this is my barrier. I can't go any further than this right here. I've tried and before, and I don't want to do that again, because something bad happened, right? Something bad to the point where they remember it. Something that stuck with them. Okay. And that's why you have. That's why when we were kids, we got beat, and it worked, because it was a different time. We didn't want to get beat again, and it didn't kill us. It made us stronger, and it was easier then to be a parent. It was easier because you could, you could show your kids how mad you were by beating their ass, and it's true. Kids don't, whether you believe it or not, that it hurts me more than it hurts you. Well, in some cases, parents would get so angry that they hit their kids, and that's, it's by design. You get so angry that you hit your kid by design, because that you reached your limit, and then you're showing your kid that that's your limit, and that would then stick with your kid, and they would learn, and that's how it's supposed to work. But we live in a weird time now where it's, people don't give a shit about your life until you do something to give them an opportunity. They're opportunists to turn it into a fucking political tool. Oh, you abuse your kids. You abuse your kids. Oh, and you get angry and you hit your kids. And, well, yeah, that's how that's supposed to work. You get angry because your kids got you angry, and it's not because of them annoying you or anything. It's because you're angry because they're pushing their limits, and you've told them 100 times before, don't do this, and they do it again, and that's why you're angry. So you're not angry for any other reason but your kids. So then, that's why people, would beat their kids or whatever. That's why we got beat. But I think it's important to note here, I do not hit my kids. I do not hit my kids. I do not abuse my kids. Never have. I mentioned on one of my videos how I backhanded my daughter, and I felt terrible, and that happened. And Pat and Perp's channel made a video about me. I laughed. I thought it was funny, but at the end of the day, the subject is not a laughing matter. If they plan on using this to paint me as some kind of violent child abuser or something like that, And then another thing somebody pointed out whenever I was just parenting, just talking, they pointed out in the comments, oh, you're going to teach your kid to grow pot. No. And if you watch the video, I literally say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell him if he wants to learn that, he can read a book. Read a book. We can't stop our kids from doing what they're going to do. all we can do is help them, guide them, tell them what's right and wrong. You know, try to show them. Now, do I grow pot? No. So that's how I can teach my kids what to do and what not to do, by example. And I even say that in the video, you know. I don't know how to grow pot. I don't grow pot. And I'm not going to teach my kid how to grow weed. I don't know how to grow weed. And even if I did, I wouldn't teach them. Because it's wrong. It's fucking wrong. But they want to point out these little things in the video. You know, oh yeah, sure, you teach your kid how to grow weed. I think it's time to call Children Protective Services. And that's what somebody said in the comments. And see, this is what they do. They try to get these little ideas about you, and then they try to paint a narrative. So you know, don't play into them, because it's just words. It's word salad. That's all it is. And if people actually are getting that far into the video that they're reading the comments, then the chances are they watched the video. So chances are they know that these comments are just bullshit. They just put them out there so that they can highlight them later on. Okay? And they can get the stupid people. The sheeple, you know? Because there's sheeple that, unfortunately, you can't fix stupid. And there's sheeple. And unfortunately, there probably are some sheeple and some stupid people in positions of power that hopefully, yeah, hopefully those people, you know, take a little extra time to analyze the situation for what it is, and maybe certain officers should do a little more investigation before they file charges against somebody, you know. And I'm referring to a certain deal hole. But I know what the agenda was, obviously. He didn't just make a mistake there whenever they filed the felony burglary that was on the news and everything. No, that was not a mistake. He said he did his investigation, and I was nowhere to be found. Well, he wasn't looking for me until they already had a warrant. He never did his investigation. His investigation was a plan. That's it. He didn't investigate shit. If they would have investigated anything, it would have totally changed his you know, his actions after the fact. Because there was never a burglary. It was my shit, and I wasn't there. But anyway, it's funny because at the arraignment, Officer Dill wasn't there. Chief Schilling was there. They did the criminal complaint, and at the end of the criminal complaint, I remember Officer Schilling saying, "Well, if you're done with me, I got a burglary I have to go investigate." He said that out loud, very blatant. You know, he said, "Well, if you're done with me, I have a burglary to go investigate," and then he whistled his way out of the courtroom. Whistled his way right out of the courtroom. And it's funny because that's something I would do whenever my perps would do shit to me. When I lived at the apartments, I would walk my dog, and it would calm me down. It would make me feel better. It would make me laugh. I would whistle the Seven Dwarfs Whistle While You Work. I would whistle that song. So anytime I seen some fuckery going on or some perps, I'd just start whistling, you know. And I would do that. So it's funny. It's funny now. I think it's funny that at that arraignment, Officer Schilling was in such a hurry, Chief Schilling, whatever, he was in such a hurry to leave that he said, "I have a burglary to go investigate," and then he whistled his way out of the courtroom. And then by the time we got outside, you know, 10 or 15 minutes later, oh, there he was, standing there. Standing outside my dad's car. Outside. So, you make it whatever, you know, what you will. I'm just saying what happened and the facts. I'm not going to insinuate anything. I'm just going to say what happened. Simple as that. So, but with that, I just wanted to come on here and make this video and let people know, um, think before you act. Think before you act. There's a brain, there's something in between those two ears for a reason. Use it. You know, God gave you that brain, and it works. It actually does critical thinking if you allow it to, if you don't act on your emotions. So try it. You might be surprised at the outcome you get. And also do a lot of reflection. Look back at situations and think about them again whenever you have a clear head and whenever you're not being influenced, like this situation here. So, you know, Nerve Gorilla wants to point out, why is it that you can sit in your basement for so long, and yet when a guy sits in his car, you're suspicious? Just because he's outside of his home, he's still a guy on a planet. Yes, he is. And it's actually a woman. And it's actually the girl, I don't know if it's the person that it is. It's funny. They live right beside the police station. And they're the dad or the husband, whoever it is, happens to be a prison guard who works at the Housedale State Prison, and also is in he's military as well. He's either reserves or guard, but I think it's reserves. It's just funny. He lives right across the street from Fusion Grill. You know, it's funny how there's the fusion centers, you know, and then there's this this restaurant right across the street from the police station. And I've mentioned it in previous videos, and there's a lot of question marks that surround this place, for me anyway, and a lot of correlations. And it's funny that the name of it is Fusion Bar and Grill. Where do they come up with the name Fusion? Why? I'm just asking questions. And it's funny, the people that worked on it, you know, and there's a doctor that owns it. This weird doctor. He's not from around here. And the people he had working for him were like an ex convict, a convicted murderer, somebody who's got, you know, definitely some special needs, and then another person who's one of my perps who was an ex-felon. You know, there's a picture on one of my thumbnails of this person who's passed out with his kid laying there in public, unfortunately. And this is just somebody else who came against me, and bad things happened to them afterwards, and it's not my fault. There's nothing I did. They're the same people that furnished alcohol to my daughter. But this, yeah, this Fusion Grill, and the correlation there, the fusion centers, I don't think it's any coincidence that on my son's birthday last year, just over a year ago here, on November 24th, okay, 2021, that my son wanted to go to this Fusion Grill to eat for his birthday. He wanted to go there to eat for his birthday. I don't think it's a coincidence. I still haven't been there. Because we were going to go there. I dropped my daughter off at work, and then I didn't make it home. My son was at home waiting for me. He was 13 years old that day, on his birthday, and he'll be 14 here next month. But on his birthday, he wanted to go there, and I dropped my daughter off at work, and then I didn't make it home until like 10 or 11 o'clock that night, because certain Officer Dill made a big scene and arrested me at gunpoint and tried to kill me and everything else on my son's birthday. That was on my son's birthday. And he wanted to go to Fusion Grill to eat that day for his birthday. You know, coincidence? I don't know. I don't know. I'm just saying what happened. Just pointing it out. You know, that happened. And that was my hearing I had yesterday there. Well, 2 days ago now. that hearing I finally had, that all got cleared up now finally. Yeah, no drug charges. Nope, no drug charges. Still to this day, I do not have any convicted drug charges on my record. Now, you could probably look up my record and see that I was charged, alleged. I was charged with these things. But that, I was not convicted ever of any drug charges. Okay? It's important to note that. Very important to note that, because people seem to think that if you're charged with something, that it's true. And that's not the case. That's just not the case at all. And you need to do a little, say a little less until you know a little more. Don't be part of the problem where you just run around and repeat shit that you hear, because then the stupid people, the sheeple, they'll actually believe it. They will. They'll just believe that they hear this and they were told this, so it must be true. It just must be true. It's as simple as that, right? No. You got do yourself a favor. I laugh because it's in the past and it's funny now. I think it's fucking funny. That some people really do just believe these things, and they think that, well, you were charged with it, so you had to have done something wrong. You had to have had drugs if you were charged with it. Oh yeah, well, why did I plead not guilty? Why did I fight it the whole time? And I maintained my innocence and I fought it. And why did they keep offering me better and better deals each time? Why did that happen? Why did that happen? And I did it, I worked with them as little as possible. I only went to my hearings that day. Whenever I would get a notice, I would go there. I didn't even collaborate with my public defender. Like, I left them in the dark until right whenever I was going to court. And nothing against the public defenders, but they work with the prosecutors and stuff, and it's nothing against them. It's just knowing the truth about things and how things work, and knowing my rights. It's just in my best interest to keep everything. You don't show your cards. I keep everything close to the chest because of how everybody has used information against me in my life. You confide in people, you give them information about you, and then they turn around and fucking throw it in your face and use it against you. Yeah, and I'm sure there's a lot of people, not just TIs, that can relate to that. And it sucks, but you got to do these things, right? Like NIRVGORILLA here, all he's doing is taking information, and then he's trying to confide, he's trying to relate to me here, right? At one point, he even had me saying, maybe NIRVGORILLA's not such a bad guy. He did. And then he proved me wrong right afterwards, again, anyway. And he's done this several times, so. Yeah, just don't lose your critical thinking. And don't act on your emotions. And don't do anything after midnight. Nothing good ever happened after midnight or after 2 a.m. Whatever the saying is. So trust your instincts. Don't do anything stupid. And don't rush into anything, because like I've said before, anytime somebody's trying to rush you into a decision that they can't give you a good reason why there's a hurry, why they're rushing, then it's probably not in your best interest at all. Take a step back, slow down, analyze the situation for what it is. If you don't know why you're rushing, then don't rush. Drag your feet, because nobody's going to be able to rush you into something. And if you don't make a decision, something bad's going to happen. No, don't do that. Just like the time, here, I'll keep this going, because just like the time It was a week before Thanksgiving in 2020, and I had wrecked my car. And when I wrecked my car, I broke both my ankles. Okay? I had a complex, how do I say this word? Concanial? I don't know. I had complex fractures on the one foot, and then I had a major, what's the other word? Talus, a major talus fracture on my right. I think that's how you say it. But basically, I had a fractured ankle on the right, and I had the complex fractured ankle lower on below the ankle bone on the left foot. The other one was just a major fracture on the ankle. Either way, broke both my ankles. Okay, in the wreck, and immediately when I got out of the car, and I'm walking around, because your adrenaline's running, and I forget who it was. It was somebody that happened to be right there. Saw the accident. And it's somebody from town here. I can't remember who it was. Boy, I wish I did. But they happened to be right there, and they were already on the phone. I got out of the car. They were already on the phone with 911. Which of course, I'm not gonna say that's bad. They did that. And they're like, yeah, we have an emergency, and they called it in, an accident. And the Logan Township police officer showed up. Now, this is important because this happened. Logan Township police officers, they gave me a breathalyzer. I passed the breathalyzer. And they wanted to give me a field sobriety test. And I said, listen, I can't stand up. My ankles are killing me. I need to sit down. Something's wrong here. Something's really wrong. I was leaning on their cop car. And he said, well, just try. Just give it a try, And so I said, as soon as I have one hand on the cop car. I said, as soon as I have a feeling, as soon as I move this foot, I'm going to fall. And just try. Just give it a try, he said. And Logan Township police officers, I do believe they have body cams, mandatory body cams. So there should be a record of this. But anyway, I bet there's not, though. This is a week before Thanksgiving, November 2020. So whenever I tried, like he asked me to, he told me to, whatever, and I collapsed. And he said, okay, well, turn around. And he handcuffed me. I guess he chalked that up as a fail, right? That I failed the field sobriety test. So he was kind enough to give me a ride to the hospital, right? In handcuffs in the back of the car. So I get to the hospital, and I had asked the officers a couple questions on the way. And it's funny because I only ask questions that I already know the answers to. So I was asking them a couple questions. And they don't know it. They didn't know it, but they were kind of like trick questions here. I was just testing them to see what they would say, and they lied to me. They absolutely lied to me, which was not in my best interest, obviously. So then I went to. It's funny, neighbors or somebody pulling in and out. What time is it? Well, it's 4:45 a.m. So anyway, I went to the hospital. They had to wheel me in a wheelchair because I couldn't walk. And the doctor asked the officer at the time. The doctor said, "Why are you bringing him here? Why isn't the ambulance bringing him here?" And I'll never forget it. The cop said to the doctor, "Well, he refused medical treatment." I said, "Wait, what? Wait, when did I do that?" I looked up at him and said, "When did I do that? Don't you remember when that EMT came up to the scene and you refused medical treatment?" I said, "No, sorry, don't remember that. I really don't remember that." Even if it happened, I'm sure my adrenaline was rushing. I had 2 broken ankles, And an officer, a trained officer, his first obligation when he comes on a scene of an accident is to assess injuries. That's their first obligation, is to assess the injuries, okay? Not try to get somebody over a DUI. That's not their main priority there. They're supposed to protect and serve, not enforce laws, right? So he lied to the doctor, said that I refused medical treatment. Like I said, even if I did, I don't remember it. My adrenaline was rushing. I sure as hell don't remember ever refusing medical treatment at all. I do not remember an ambulance being on scene. And even if they were, I remember times where I wasn't even injured and they insisted that I take medical treatment when I wasn't even injured. I would think in a situation like that, with 2 broken ankles when I can't even walk, that they would have pushed a little bit more on the medical treatment thing. I don't think I'd been able to refuse medical treatment that easy, to the point where I don't even fucking remember it. So anyway, I go in and they start to pretty much just fucking totally treat me like a piece of shit. They ripped all my clothes off and treated it like a trauma, okay? I was perfectly coherent, perfectly conscious, perfectly fine. I was not injured whatsoever, except for my ankles. And I do believe I had like a guardian angel or something, because I later on would find out that, well, I don't know if it happened or not. Dwight Peterman, the tow truck guy, he couldn't believe that I didn't have some upper body injuries. He said I bent the steering wheel into the dash. And he said he could not believe that I was not injured in my upper body. I said, no, I was perfectly fine. Like, I wasn't even sore at all. I was not even one bit sore. My ankles fucking hurt. So whenever I go into the hospital, they ripped all my clothes off. Then the nurses tried to rip my shoes off without even untying them. And I said, whoa. I said, stop right there, bitch. I don't think I called her a bitch, but I made sure I stopped her. And I said, can you stop? Can you slow down? I said, can you just at least untie my shoes before you rip them off my feet? My fucking ankles are broken. It fucking hurts like a son of a bitch. You know? I do remember being like very adamant about that. Like, what are you doing? You know? It was like they were purposely just punishing me. So I untied my own shoes. I'm sitting up in a trauma situation. They're treating it like a trauma situation, ripping my clothes off and shit. And I'm able to, I'm telling the nurse, back off. And I untied my own shoes and slowly took my shoes off because of my fucking pain that I was experiencing in my ankles. Took my shoes off. And then the next thing they do is they do the CT scan. They do a full CT scan on your body, right? And they do an entire CT scan of my entire body, everything except for my ankles. I shit you not. This is the honest to God truth. This is what happened. They did the entire body CT scan except for my ankles. Now, I was told later on, or I would read something about, you know, well, an X-ray sometimes doesn't show up when you have an ankle fractures. They don't always show up in X-rays. A lot of times they won't show up unless you're standing on them and you're actually putting pressure on your ankles. I do remember reading that. But still, why couldn't they scan my ankles? They scan my whole body. Why would they leave the ankles out? And then they said that they would do a mobile X-ray later on. They would order a mobile X-ray later on and bring another card in and do an X-ray on my feet later on, right? So I just thought that was funny. But then I'm laying there and the lab technician comes in and she's getting the needle ready to do the blood work, right? And right before she sticks me, I said, whoa, just 1 second here. I said, before you do anything, I said, I just want to be clear that I didn't give anybody permission to take my blood work for any other reason. She says, it's just lab work. I said, well, what kind of lab work is it? Because I didn't give anybody permission to take, to get my lab work, And that's whenever the cop got pissed. He's still standing there waiting. And he reads the informed consent to me. So the cop sits there and reads this informed consent to me before that nurse did the lab work. And I said, okay, well, he's waiting for my answer, because you have to answer. yes or no. Are you consenting or not? And I said, well, can I read that myself real quick? What do you need to read it for? I just read it to you. I said, well, I got 10 people all around me, I said, did you read it verbatim? I said, I might have missed some of it. Do you mind if I read it? And he got pissed, but he gave me the paper, and I tried to read it. And about 10 seconds into it, he interrupted me. And he's like, all right, come on. Let's go. Do you understand or not? I said, can I please just have 30 uninterrupted seconds to read this paper? I'm not asking for that much here. Can I just have like 30 uninterrupted seconds to read this? And he said, whatever. So I start reading it again, and again, interrupts me. He's like, all right, come on, we gotta go. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I handed the paper to him. I said, did you get another call? I'm sorry if you don't have time. Sorry if you got another call and you got to go. See ya. And I didn't answer him. And he took the paper and he got all fucking smug. He got all pissed off. You could see the fucking look on his face. Boy, if looks could kill. This officer who was nice as pie to me in the car ride over, right? Real nice to me. Answered all my questions. Lied to me, but answered all my questions. And he said, that's all right. We'll just come back with a warrant, he said. And he got all pissed off and said, we'll just come back with a warrant anyway. And that's whenever they stormed out. Him and another officer, they fucking stormed out all pissed off. So I laid there right outside the nurse's office in the emergency room at UPMC Altoona Hospital. I laid there in agony. My ankle's killing me. And the nurses, they made sure the door had to stay open. For some reason, that door had to stay open. And I laid there with my balls hanging out for the nurse to sit there and stare at my balls all night. Until 4 in the morning, they woke me up and kicked me out. 4 in the morning, I shit you not. This is what happened. 4 in the morning, that blonde-haired bitch nurse fucking woke me up and told me I had to get a ride. And they kept bugging me if I found a ride yet. Kicking me out of there 4 in the fucking morning. Okay? And I hadn't talked to a doctor. Nobody came to talk to me. Nothing. Nobody came to tell me what was wrong with my ankles. Nothing. Okay? And I asked her. I did get a ride. My cousin came down. She was down there by 6 o'clock in the morning to give me a ride. And they had to wheel me out. I couldn't walk. They didn't give me crutches. They didn't give me shit. I had to walk out of there with nothing. Well, I had to get wheeled out of there with nothing. And it's funny, I've never told this story before. I can't believe I haven't. But she was kicking me out at 4 in the morning. And I asked her, I said, well, what about my ankles? I said, what's my diagnosis? Aren't you going to do something for my ankles? And she's like, oh, well, the doctor said it's probably a sprained ankle. I'll print you out an aftercare for a sprained ankle. I said, I'm pretty sure it's broken. At least one of them, I'm pretty sure that they're broken. And I'm not a doctor, but I was pretty sure that they were broken, And I've never, I have sprained my ankles, several times over the years, and this was different. And I was pretty sure they were broken. But I was open to the possibility that they were just sprained. But still, a doctor they didn't prescribe me a single ibuprofen or nothing. They did nothing. Right? She just kicked me out. And we had to ask for a wheelchair when I was leaving. My cousin had to help me into her truck. And she got me home. And I lived on the 3rd story. It's the 3rd floor of the apartment building. It's like a split level. So there's an upper parking lot, or an upper road and a lower road. So when you come in from the lower side, though, you have to walk up all these concrete steps to get to the door. Then when you get to the door, you had to walk up, I forget how many steps it was altogether. I think it's like 17 steps. But there's a bunch of steps, 2.5 floors, you know what I mean? Or whatever it is, a story and a half, I don't know. There's a bunch of steps to get up to get to my apartment. And I remember I called it, I said I Lieutenant Danned it up the steps. because I did. I didn't have a wheelchair, and my cousin had to leave, and it was like 6:30, not even 7 o'clock in the morning. My kids were still, they were worried about me, wondering what happened, because the night before I wasn't able to contact anybody. Um, and they were worried. So they came out and greeted me and helped me up the steps, but I was fine. You know what I mean? I've been injured before. Pain's just pain. That's all. It's no big deal. But I still had my, I still had my health and my wits about me, and I still had a good mood. I was still in a good mood after all that. They can't break me. So Lieutenant Dan'd it up the steps, and the kids were, God bless them. My kids were great. They were my little helpers for the next 6 weeks. Um, I had to go up the steps backwards on my butt, using my arms. And that's, if you can picture Lieutenant Dan, I Lieutenant Dan'd it up 3 flights of steps. And I finally got into my recliner that they stole from me, by the way, my leather recliner. It was my Grams, and they stole that from me. That was in my apartment. But I finally got into my recliner and sat down. The kids got off to school, and I just remember getting a fucking phone call at 9-something in the morning. And right when I got settled in, and I answered it, and it was the physician's assistant from the UPMC, from Elton Hospital. The physician's assistants called just to make sure I was okay, and I made, and it was like a follow-up call, because somebody realized when they came in that they were, they had to do some damage control or do something to make sure I was okay, because somebody fucked up. And at the time, I didn't realize how bad they violated me and treated me and everything else. Because I don't care. I'm not the type to go out there and fucking sue somebody or do anything like that. There's people that have it way, way worse than me. Or, I have my kids, and I have, the sun comes out. The sun still shines, and I have my kids and my health, and I'm blessed. I am truly blessed. So, big deal. I broke my ankles. So they'll heal. They will heal, and I wrecked my car. I'll get another one. No big deal. And everything that happened, so what? So people were dickheads. They'll get over it, I can't help them. That's something they have to get over on their own anger issues, I can't help them. I don't know. They get mad for some reason. They get mad at me when I did nothing to them. I can't help that. I really can't. So, anyway, I never heard a fucking thing about, from that officer from the Logan Township Police. I never heard a fucking thing at all about that at all. Never got my license suspended, because it's an informed consent law in Pennsylvania. If you refuse blood work, if you refuse to get blood work, or you refuse I think it's if you refuse breathalyzer in field sobriety, or just the blood work, I don't know. But if you refuse, you can refuse, but then they can suspend your driver's license for 12 to 18 months, because it's implied consent law. I'm sorry, implied consent. Because if just by having a driver's license and driving in the state of Pennsylvania on the roads, your consent is implied. Okay, so meaning it's implied that you agree to this law change, this law where they can suspend your license. If you don't agree to this, that's one of these laws that they just changed recently, in the last 10 years, and said, if you're going to drive in the state of Pennsylvania, well then, this is what you have to make it easier for us to get a DUI, or else we're taking your license. So, well, the funny thing is, my license had been suspended for fucking long time. So I guess it really couldn't have been implied for me, because I didn't sign any papers. It had been years since I had a valid license and whatever. So I guess legally, and as far as legal terms go, that didn't really apply to me. But I don't think that's why I didn't hear anything. I'm pretty sure I didn't hear anything because somebody fucked up, and if the truth would have come out there, somebody would have got fired for sure. Because when the physician's assistant called me the next day, they were really, really nice. And they explained to me that, well, they took a second look at it, and I do have a broken ankle. I said, just one? She says, well, it looks, yeah, the one's definitely broken. And it would end up turning out that I had two broken ankles. But their initial diagnosis was go home, you got a sprained ankle. Then they called me back and said I had one broken ankle and one sprained ankle, and then I could come back down. I could Lieutenant Dan it back down them steps. I could just come right back down there anytime I wanted. Isn't that nice of them? And then I wouldn't even have to register, they said. I wouldn't even have to check in or register at the front desk. I could just come straight in. Like VIP, right? Isn't that nice of them? So, what the fuck? I'm not pressing anything. So yeah, I could just come straight in. I wouldn't even have to register. You mean to tell me that you're not even going to make a record of me coming like that? You're going to make it so that like I never left, huh? You're going to make it like you didn't even fucking release me, aren't you? Isn't that nice of you, right? And that's exactly what they did. Now I have still to this day still have the physical paperwork that shows the dates when they when they kicked me out of the hospital, and then I come back down, and I suspected that they were going to do this, and whenever I downloaded my medical record later on, they absolutely tweaked the fucking medical records, and they changed the dates on them to make it look like I never left. They made it look like it was one big visit at the hospital. That's what they did, and why would they do that? So that they are not liable for malpractice. Because if they diagnose you with something, right, and then that diagnosis could possibly lead to a further injury, that is the definition of malpractice, okay? So diagnosing me with a sprained ankle and forcing me to leave without anything, without any crutches, without anything, that, and forcing me to walk on my feet, pretty sure that could cause some further injuries, right? Well, you have to have another medical professional prove that their diagnosis caused further injury. Well, I was diagnosed a sprained ankle, and I left. And then I had a broken ankle for some reason. Then I left. And then when I went to the the specialist, because they only diagnosed me with one broken ankle, right? And they gave me a boot and crutches for that. So what do you do when you're on crutches? You put your weight on the other foot, right? Okay. Well, by the time I get to the specialist, right, I have two broken ankles. So you tell me. Sounds to me like they diagnosed something and they didn't do their due diligence, and that diagnosis led to a broken ankle. And it sounds like they misdiagnosed that broken ankle. Instead of diagnosing two broken ankles, they misdiagnosed it or did whatever, malpractice. And then by the time I got to the specialist, it turned into two broken ankles. Isn't that crazy how that works? But I called a lawyer, and I read the whole, their whole website first, and it explained how they would connect you with the medical professionals that would give you that expert second opinion, to prove that you had to prove that you had, that malpractice took place, and that you had an injury caused by the misdiagnosis of the doctors. So that's why I called them. They're the ones that are supposed to connect you with the professionals. And I was on the phone with somebody. I think it was the lawyers. I don't know. But this lady, I couldn't get past her. She just tried to explain the whole thing away. Every single thing I said, she's like, well, that's unfortunate. But unfortunately, you have to get another doctor to do this and this. I said, yeah, I know. That's why I called you guys. Yeah, well, unfortunately, she kept doing that over and over again. I'm like, what the fuck am I calling you for then? I just read the website, and your whole website convinced me to call you, and that you would connect me with a professional. Like that's what you guys do. That's what the website says. So that was my last attempt. After that, I was like, yeah, fuck it. I'm not even bothering. It was just a fleeting thought. You know, I thought, well, you know, somebody did something wrong here, and I should be compensated. But I thought, you know, fuck it. That's not going to help me. It's just money. It's just pissing more people off, and it's just money. And is that money going to help me? No, 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 not at all. It's not going to help me or my kids. I mean, yes, it might help financially, but my kids are fed. They have a roof over their head. You know, they have everything they need. Money at that point, what does it do? What does the money do? It just makes your kids spoiled. It takes away from their ability to learn the value of money and the value of earning a dollar. So at that point, you know, you could have so much money to the point where then money is not good anymore. It's only gonna make things harder for you. And the sooner some people understand that, the better off you'll be. But yeah, so that happened, all that. So I had Thanksgiving. I had two boots, two of them blow up boots on your feet. I walked around like Iron Man, you know. I had like these big Iron Man looking boots on my feet. And I healed just fine. You know what? That was a week before Thanksgiving. And by halfway through January, I was able to walk around without the boots on anymore. So it's pretty fucking quick, I think. What's that? Like 6 weeks, I was good to go. And I was back, and then back to work. And yeah, it hurt a little bit, but I took it easy. And to this day, I don't feel any fucking pain. And that specialist, the orthopedic specialist, he told me that I was probably going to have pain the rest of my life in my ankles. And he was wrong. You know what I mean? He was wrong. I don't. And I don't know what, you know, I can't explain why I don't. He's the specialist. I can't explain why I don't. I'm just going to attribute it to mind over matter, you know. And if you think positive, positive things happen. If you think negative, negative things happen. And, you know, my mom told me that a long time ago, and that stuck with me. And I've put that into practice in my life. And so far, I haven't not been able to debunk it. It's fucking all, it's been working. Mind over matter is fucking true as it can be. So, just, I hope a few targeted individuals watch this and it makes a difference. I hope that my story will help somebody, even if it's just one person. I hope it makes a difference, just enough difference to help and be the difference in somebody's life, be the make it or break it in somebody's life. I just hope so. That's why I'm doing this. That's the only reason. That's it. That's the only reason. So, not for fucking clout, not for spite, not for, you know, vengeance, nothing like that. I'm just doing it because the truth is important. And you know, if you're a TI, you matter. Your life matters. Don't let them tell you otherwise. So, that's it. Peace. Stay real. Be good or be good at it.